What's happening? We back with another installment, Dog Food TV. Dog Food TV is sponsored by Dog Food Store, premium sportswear brand for Cleveland football fans. You can find that at www.dogfoodstore.com. So, this is almost like a Quentin Tarantino movie, right? It's the shoulder situation. And it really, the chaos was really initiated by the media. You know, Watson said that he was going to play. Then at the last minute, he said he wasn't going to play. If you watch the video with him, Stefanski, and Barry on the field at the same time, you can tell that there's a conversation. Basically says, yeah, I can't go. And nobody's mad. Nobody's upset. I think it's just more of a heightened awareness of the situation. They walk off the field and, you know, they just got to get ready for a game. If you had responsible media, if you didn't have media that was, you know, out to incite panic, there wouldn't have been a big deal. And, you know, one of the perpetuators of that narrative said, well, he talked to some guys after the game and they said they were frustrated that he didn't play. If you go, well, we actually have that. Anthony Walker, let's listen to what Anthony Walker said about Watson not playing.
All right, next we'll go to Scott.
Hey, Anthony, I think you touched on this after the game, but was there any jolt or confusion when you guys found out yesterday morning that Deshaun wasn't going to be able to play?
No, not at all. Obviously, you know, you always want to go out there full strength with, franchise quarterback. Obviously we found out that he wasn't playing, but that doesn't change us defensively. Obviously we got to go out and play our game. And, you know, we didn't do that no matter who was at quarterback yesterday. So, obviously we learned from it. Obviously we understand that injuries happen. You know, nobody's going to feel sorry for us as a team. And the Ravens didn't, you know, so we got to be ready to go. And no matter who's at quarterback, you know, defensively, we got to do our job.
Now, a pessimist would say, well, that's what he's going to say to try to save face, to try to, you know, make it seem like nobody has a problem. But the optimist would say, well, it's a team sport. Injuries are a part of it. You know, if you can't go, why risk further injuring it and, you know, maybe ruining the season? Because if he gets hurt and, you know, you don't have Chubb, your season is definitely shot. So, the media, we talked about how toxic the media is. And real quickly, Bill Belichick just got blasted, got a goose egg, right? And we'll try to play some clips of that if we have time towards the end. They were asking Bill Belichick some tough questions. But if you listen to the way that they asked him those questions, they were still asking it from a place of respect, maybe even a little bit of fear there. You know, Bill Belichick made a comment about going to have to start over. They said, well, you know, Bill, can you explain what that means? Kind of in that kind of tone. And Bill, you know, you probably know how he talk. Well, you know, we just got to start over.
All right. Well, obviously it was a poor performance today here, so I mean, just plain and simply, we got to find a way to, you know, play and coach better than that. And so that's what we're gonna do: start all over and get back on a better track than we're on right now. So, you know, slow start, and I just couldn't ever really get the game under control.
Greg Bedard.
Bill, you said you guys need to start over. Have you ever had to do that before, 5 games into the season, just for reference? I mean, is it something new?
Yeah, I've done it before.
What does that entail, starting over?
Starting over.
If the Cleveland media asks that kind of question, what do you mean? What do you mean you got to start over? It's week 5. What do you mean? It's a difference. So, how this Watson shoulder situation really should have been handled, and we actually have a great example of that. It happened. It's happening with the Cincinnati Bengals with the Joe Burrow calf situation. He's pretty much been trying to gut it out and play, and aside from this past game against the Cardinals, really hasn't looked that good. but finally had a good game. And now everybody's saying, oh, well, the Bengals are back on track. Juxtapose that with the Browns losing 28-3 with a backup quarterback. Prior to the Ravens losing to the Steelers, it was a lot of panic again. It was because the media incited that. But let's think about how many quarterbacks the Browns have had, and I think we have that. Let's get that pulled up real quick. Now, when you're a team that's not used to having a franchise quarterback, you tend to lose perspective on what it means to have a franchise quarterback. So y'all probably already know the names and everything. I can't recite all of them by heart, but let's just go down the list. 1999, Tim Couch started 14 games. Ty Detmer started 2. 2000, Doug Peterson started 8. Tim Couch started 7. Spurgeon Wynn started 1. 2001, Tim Couch started all 16. 02, Tim Couch started 14. Kelly Holcomb started 2. 03, Kelly Holcomb started 8. And Tim Couch started 8. And then we kind of started to get into a carousel of quarterbacks until you get to Baker Mayfield in 2018. Baker Mayfield started 13. Tyrod Taylor started 3. 2019 and 2020. Mayfield started all 16. 2021, he started 14. Case Keenum started 2. Nick Mullins started 1. And then you get into the Jacoby Brissett, Deshaun Watson split. And now we're in 2023. I don't know the exact number of quarterbacks, but it's a lot. When you have a franchise quarterback and he's not able to go, regardless of the opponent, there is nothing wrong with him saying, I know I said that I expected to play. It just doesn't feel right. When I throw it, I feel like I can't get the drive on the ball, or I feel a little bit more pain than I anticipated, or it just feels stiff today. Teams that have success, consistent success, that's not that big of a scare or, red flag, rather, to the fan base. This fan base since 1999 really hasn't had a lot to be optimistic about, which is understandable. But in 2023, you have a coach that I believe his record is above 500. I think he's around 51, 52% win percentage. And, that's pretty good. It's better than what has traditionally been the case. So, you got a franchise quarterback, a guy that you paid a lot of money to. You look at Joe Burrow, he got paid. You look at Lamar Jackson, he got paid. You look at Deshaun Watson, he got paid. Of those three, aside from the game against the Cardinals, I think the consensus is Burrow has looked the worst. Watson would probably be second worst. And then Lamar Jackson playing the best, more consistent of the three. Now you look ahead, or you look now, the Ravens are 3-2. Steelers are 3-2. Browns are 2-2. And I believe the Bengals are 2-3. So, again, when you have a franchise quarterback, it allows you a little bit of wiggle room. Granted, we all agree they shouldn't have lost the Pittsburgh game. Shouldn't have lost that. They really should be sitting at about 3-1. But it happens. And if he doesn't play against the 49ers, it really shouldn't incite panic either. And if he doesn't look good, that's a top 5 defense. So expectations need to be tempered a little bit, because I still do believe he needs to play about 16 games, full games, before you really start to see him starting to hit his stride. So with him not playing against the Ravens, that's going to put it around week 11, week 12. And given what the schedule looks like, in fact, let's go ahead and pull the schedule up real quick. So if you look at the remaining schedule, you got the 49ers, week 6. Let's look ahead to week 7 real quick. they're saying Anthony Richardson is hurt, so he may not be available for week 7. So now you're going against Gardner Minshew. Week 8, you got the Seahawks. It's gonna be a tough game. It's gonna be a good game. Week 9, you got the Cardinals. Favorable matchup. Week 10, you got another shot against Baltimore with hopefully a healthy quarterback, a little bit more evil or level playing field. And we just saw what Baltimore did against the Steelers. They struggled against the Steelers. We saw that in the first half, they really didn't get a lot going on the passing front. The run game, they were able to do some things, but a lot of that was just field position game. So another favorable matchup. Then you got the Steelers, week 11. There's going to be a lot of energy and tension because that, I'm sure Chubb is going to be on a lot of people's minds. So you got week 11, another favorable matchup there. And that's getting close to getting Watson 16 games under his belt, a full season. Then you got week 12 against the Broncos. Really don't have to say much about that. Favorable matchup again. And you got week 13 against the Rams. They're kind of up and down, but you would say favorable matchup based on what the Bengals did. Week 14 against Jacksonville. That's gonna be a tough one. Week 15 against the Bears. You got week 16 at the Texans. And then you got week 17 Jets, week 18 Bengals. So, if you look at the 49ers, based on my understanding, the 49ers and the Ravens and the Jets, I believe, are the only top 10 defenses on this graphic. Let's pull it up real quick, just to be sure. Let's take a look at that before we wrap this up. Okay, now I don't know if this is gonna already have the game, the Raiders and the Packers game stats factored in. But as of right now, top 10 defenses: Cleveland Browns 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2, San Francisco 49ers 3, Baltimore Ravens 4, New Orleans Saints 5, Buffalo Bills 6, Kansas City Chiefs 7, Dallas Cowboys 8, Seattle Seahawks 9, and Tennessee Titans number 10. So you got the 49ers, you got the Ravens, and you got the Seattle Seahawks. You got 3 top 10 defenses on this graphic. This is a good favorable schedule. Now, based on this schedule and based on where everybody is in the AFC North is wide open. And if we look at some of the competition's remaining schedule, let's look at the Ravens real quick. They obviously lost to the Steelers week 5. They got the Titans in London week 6. They got the Lions week 7. They got the Cardinals week 8. They got the Seahawks week 9. The Browns again in week 10. The Bengals again in week 11. They got the Chargers week 12. Then they're on bye. Then they have the Rams, the Jaguars, the 49ers, the Dolphins, and the Steelers. So the Ravens are going to have to play 1, 2, 3. They also have 3 top 10 defenses that they're going to have to deal with, but they also are going to have to deal with the Dolphins, who are probably a top 5 offense, if not the best offense currently. And Detroit is playing very good football. So based on the schedule, I would say that the Ravens have just a touch more difficult schedule just on paper. Let's take a look. Who's next? The Steelers. We can take a look at the Steelers. I don't know how many more times the defense is going to be able to bail them out, but they're on bye this week. And then they have the Rams, the Jaguars, the Titans, the Packers, the Browns, the Bengals, Cardinals, the Patriots, the Colts, the Bengals, the Seahawks, and then the Ravens. So the Steelers are going to have to deal with 1, 2, 3. Are the Titans? Were the Titans on that? No, the Titans. Well, they're number 10, so that's 4. So that's 4 top 10 defenses. But you see, they got the Patriots on here, the Cardinals on here. So I would say the Steelers have a somewhat favorable schedule, but again, they have a lot of issues on offense. So based on what I'm seeing, I would say that between the Browns and the Ravens, they have a harder schedule just because of their offensive woes. And then lastly, let's take a look at the Bengals. And the Bengals have the Seahawks this week, a top 10 defense. Then they're on bye week 7. Then they have the 49ers, a top 10 defense. Then they have the Buffalo Bills, the Houston Texans, the Ravens again, the Steelers, the Jaguars, the Colts, the Vikings, the Steelers again, the Chiefs, and then the Browns. So how many top 10 defenses is that? All right, so they already lost to the Titans. So the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Ravens, the Browns, the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's what? Oh, and the Bills. So that's 6. Is that 6 top 10 defenses? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 top 10 defenses that they got to go against. And, the division games are tough too, we know. So you can look at this and make the case. The Bengals have the hardest road. And I think that has something to do with what you do in the playoffs. I believe that's how they do the scheduling, that the further you go, the harder your schedule is the next season. So I guess that makes sense. But they easily have the most difficult schedule going forward the rest of the season. So again, with this shoulder situation, the Browns media is not doing a good job of being neutral, of being biased, and of really just doing their job of covering the team rather than trying to, have people throw others under the bus, ask these players questions in the moment and then infer what their feelings are about a particular player or about a particular situation. Like, if you ain't willing to get it on the record and you're doing all that, well, I talked to a number of players, I can't really go to the bank and cash no checks to that. And that's what you got to start doing if you're consuming this media, which is really gossip. Really, the whole thing about players being frustrated about Watson, that was really gossip. That really wasn't reporting, because Mary Kay Cabot, when she published that Jadeveon Clowney piece about the coaching staff and what they were doing in favor of Myles Garrett, she put her name on that. She put his name on that, and she put his quotes on that. Again, I felt like she should have held that until the end of the season, but whatever. The difference is that you know who said it. You got to read what they said, and you can actually point to, okay, that's a real problem. Think back to what you've heard in the last 7 to 10 days. It's all been conjecture. It's all been theory. Nothing has been concrete. Nobody has said, this is the player that I talked to and this is what they said. Thankfully, which really should let you know they probably didn't have nothing to begin with. They really didn't have nothing to begin with, because if they did, they would have published it. You feel me? And I really doubt that the player said, this is how I feel, but don't, because they could have said that. But to my knowledge, nobody told no reporter that, because no reporter said that I talked to this person and they told me, and they said, keep my name out of it, but this is how I feel about it. So it's really just a bunch of BS. So the shoulder situation was really mishandled. I think that, as a Browns fan going into this week, you kind of got to temper your expectations, because if he does play and they don't play well, it's really not indicative of anything. They're a top 5 defense as well, and their offense is clicking. If he plays and they plays well, that's a good sign, whether they win or lose. So, there'll be some good things to glean from that. But if he doesn't play and they go out there and they lose again and fall to 2-3, it really, it's not going to mean anything, because it's a marathon, and you got to look at what is the most important thing. The most important thing is getting to the playoffs healthy and being able to make some noise in the playoffs. Y'all remember the tortoise and the hare? That was one of my favorite fables as a young kid. You got to stay steady. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So, hopefully the media can, keep their fangs in their clutches from dividing this team. And I think the team, even the way that Kevin Stefanski, real quick, and we'll end on this. I don't think we're going to have time to get to the Bill Belichick's quotes, but we'll try to do that in another video this week before we get into the predictions. Everybody rips Kevin Stefanski about, the way that he answers questions. And I'll be honest, the last couple of years, I've been the same way. I feel like he answers the press conferences after a win or a loss with the same kind of word tracks. But after this week, I really understand why. Because you're going up there in front of a media that's really a kangaroo court. They're like that spouse that, suspects that you're cheating, or maybe she already caught you cheating. And now she's asking you questions, trying to get you caught up, trying to get you hemmed up. And now anything that you answer, if it doesn't really line up to a T with everything that you say after that, with every question, because every question is loaded and it's connected to another question, she's gonna get you. She's gonna get that ass. Excuse my language. So, if you were him in that situation, you would answer things pretty vague, pretty neutrally as well, especially given how he answered a question about, he was medically cleared, and what that opened the floodgates for. So if I had to guess, you're going to get a lot of vague Kevin Stefanski going forward the rest of the season. And I got to say, with this media that he has to sit in front of every week, I can't say that I blame him. I can't. It's unfortunate that the media does that, but, they got to get some new blood up in there, because a lot of those people, based on my understanding, Chris Broussard was talking about this, a lot of these people been there for the last 20, 30, maybe even longer. So a lot of their pessimism is rooted into their journalism. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, man. Y'all get the picture. So it's week 6. So Browns got an opportunity. They don't play the games on paper. You feel me? They play the games on the field. So we'll see how it go. We'll do the prediction video a little bit later. We'll look at the run defense rankings and all of that, the run stuff, win rate, and all of that. And I think right now the Browns are 4.5 underdogs. But again, that could change if Deshaun Watson, if he plays or if he doesn't play. I'm sure if he doesn't play, that's probably going to go up a few points. And if he does play, it'll probably go down. But we'll see. So again, it's another installment of Dog Food TV. Appreciate your patience. And, tuning in, checking us out. And we'll catch y'all on the next one.